Nice seeing you here this spot. So the first thing is I want you to introduce yourself to people, right? So like, can you just kind of give us introduction of yourself?
Okay, my name is Tairu AbdulMateen. I'm a student of OAU Computer Science with Mathematics. I'm in my final year, fortunately. Been like 2 months now. And yeah, I'm also a software engineer. I currently work at Invisible Technologies.
Question is, like, coding, is it your passion, or is just as if you are, for example, like me, when I started, it was as if I do and I want to do something. Do you get? So is it that you saw people doing it and you want to do it, or you are just passionate about like creating something?
To be honest, I didn't know anyone who was a software engineer or anything, or writing code when I started. I just stumbled upon it out of curiosity. So I don't know if you know this app. It's MXIT. So it was a social media app, and I was on it. I think it was popular in South Africa. So they had games on it, and I wanted to build my own. I was in JS2, JS1, JS2 then. I wanted to build my own.
So you have actually started with something like this in JS1?
Not really, but JS1, JS2, I was just curious. So I Googled on how to build one, and I read like, okay, I need to learn to code, all that stuff. And I'm like, coding. I don't even have a laptop. Nah, can't do it. But I don't know, along the line, I just asked my dad, like, okay, like this coding thing, this programming thing, like, what is it about? Like, what is it? And my dad is a lecturer, so he knew MATLAB. He was a mechanical engineering lecturer, so he knew MATLAB.
Awesome.
So he just taught me how to build a currency converter in MATLAB, one small currency converter. Like we did, Naira to dollar was 150 then. So we used 150 rates.
Since what year ago?
That was, as I said, that's JS1, JS2. So it's probably like 2012 or 13. So that was like my first time ever writing code in my life, and then we started doing basic in secondary school. So I was very passionate about basic. So that was the thing. So it was passion, kind of like it was interest, it was curiosity. Yeah.
So for people starting in tech, right, one of the major things that people really like are actually trying to look forward to is getting jobs, right? So how did you get your first job? Like, what are the processes you took to get your first job? Like, do you even remember how? Okay.
I remember everything in my life. Well, there are 2 jobs I can call my first job. So there was one that I got out of like referral. It wasn't paid, kind of. It was paid, but it was, they call it something allowance, operation allowance, I think. They gave me, I can't even remember the amount.
Like stipend.
It was a very funny stipend. I think it was 5k per month or 10k per month. It was it was just for like data and stuff, you get. So that one I got it through referral. So like there's someone who knows someone, and they're like, oh, they know me. So it was a referral thing. But the first one that I actually got was paid was an internship, Terragon internship. They passed this link around that they were looking for students to hire in OAU back then. So many students applied, and I applied also. So I went through the interview process, and I got in. I was among these 6 people that got in. So
was it front end or back end?
It was everything, and kind of, well, they didn't specify. I don't think they specified anything. When they were, I can't really remember, but I don't think they specified any role when they were hiring. They just said software engineers, and people applied, you get.
Okay.
When I got there, we're doing data engineering.
Oh.
You get, it was not back end, it was not front end, it was data engineering. So I guess they're just looking for people who could write code and who like knew what they were doing. So
what are the things you used? For example, like me, when I started, I remember, I don't know, maybe you know Dockets, right? You don't know Docker? Okay, I think front-end people, you know Dockets. Okay, so that's where I started from. Actually, my first language was not even JavaScript or anything, so it was Java. I had to run away from my life. Do you understand? And there was no system then. So the major thing is, I understand that, okay, this person is doing this social thing, like my brother was doing it, and I wish to do it too. Do you get? So like, how did you get started? Is it that you are using books or you are using more videos? And what do you like? What can you advise people that are starting to use?
Advice is not something I want to give because different things work for different people. You get. So I initially started with books. There was this time where tutorial points, I don't know if you know tutorial points.
Yeah, I know tutorial points.
They had free PDFs for almost every language. So what I'll do was I'll download their books for different languages and I'll get the code editor and whatever on my phone. And I'll learn it on my phone. So I learned Java, Python, HTML, CSS. That I'm not sure I learned CSS. I don't think it was possible. But all those small things, I learned it on my phone while in secondary school. So, but when it really became serious was when I was in about to enter university. That one I just transitioned into videos and I used videos. But one thing that was different was that I watched the videos. I always use tutorial videos, tutorial playlist videos that are like on
YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube. I don't get money now. I didn't even know there was Udemy or any of those things. As I said, I didn't know anyone. I didn't speak to anyone. So it was just, I only knew YouTube existed. So I used YouTube. And when I'm done with the tutorial playlist stuff, I'll then start thinking of, okay, what should I do? Oh, let me do this. And I'll Google. So I guess it's just everything. Anything works for anyone. So
even in tech space, you have to network, and you have actually mentioned about refer people, like referring. So that means that you actually have to have a kind of network of people that are doing the same thing you are doing. So what is your best advice for people starting in tech? Because I personally always advise people, personally like me, most of my jobs are through referral. How can they start networking with people?
That's I don't know how it is now. I think times are different.
Yeah.
Okay, so the fact that I'm not actively networking now might be difficult for me to advise. But I know back then how I networked was, back then there were a lot of meetups in a way. There were a lot of meetups, there were some hackathons. So, and we had our Narcos library now. So I'll go there and I'll see like some people that were, I mean, they will look like they are good. That's the impression I need. I just need to believe you are good. And I'm like, oh, I want to know them. And I'll disturb them. I believe some of them even hated me then. Like, I'll just disturb them and say, oh, I'm Tairu. Oh, I'm this. So, like, I'm doing backend. I even asked some to hire me or to give me job or something. So it was from there that a couple of them knew me, you get. And it's from there that I like built that network. I remember that first time I entered Narcos, one guy, his name is Taslim. He was popular back then. Taslim Hosseini, in case he sees it. He mentioned to me that, oh, we have Google I/O next week, that you should come. I was like, oh, really? Okay. And I went and I saw students in OAU doing stuff, like people that have gone. Some of them now are in like Google, Microsoft, like now. But like back then, they're still students and they're like, and I'm like, wow, like I can get there. So you meet them, you talk to them. It's just anyhow. I think now people use Twitter. People use Twitter to relate and LinkedIn. But if it is advice, I would say that one, be visible and be good, because you'll be able to relate when people come to meet you and they say, oh, they want to learn this, and you advise, and they come back 2 weeks again, they want to learn, like no progress. You have to be good at what you do if you want people to actually take you serious. So that's the way. You need to be good and visible.
Okay. You're talking about being good at something, right? Okay, so you are talking about something when you started, you learned a lot of things. I personally, when I started, I won't lie to you guys, I learned a lot of things. I remember that I learned graphics at a particular time. I learned front end. I learned more of back end. Ashcode actually taught me how to write Node during COVID, and I was really happy then. But the major thing is, I really did not understand where I was going to, right? And it's affected me on the long run. So, what do you advise young people, like people starting? Because I know that most of them want to build things. Okay, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to learn this. So what are you going to advise them? Do you think you are going to advise them to just start something, like to just learn something and go on like that, or just to learn a lot of things and see which one to go for? Like, for example, like me, I just checked the ones I like, and I was like, okay, I think I like front end, like I like design, I like to see what I'm doing. But later on, presently now I'm not writing backend very well more than front end. So like, what is your advice for people out there?
Well, I believe many people got into tech for different reasons, Yeah, yes. So like there are people who just want to get into it because they see a career there and they want to chase it. So they will want a roadmap. So in situations like that, I always like to that's one reason why I wrote one article in Dev 101. It's more of like, okay, these are the possible fields. Look at it and tell me which one you're interested in. That's why I always tell people like, okay, read this article first. It's data science, there's front end, there's back end, there is embedded systems, there is data engineering, all that stuff. Like, which one are you inclined to? Some will tell you that I think I would love to build mobile apps. Oh, I think I enjoy this. Oh, if that's the case, okay, now these are the possible languages. Which one do you think you want to learn? They don't know anything about it, and just research on it and just pick one. It's not really that deep. Just research and pick one. When you pick one, learn that language.
Okay. But when you're saying that research, do you think they should watch videos, like they should practice on it, or they should just research alone?
I mean, I believe people like that really just want to get started as quick as possible. So
exactly.
It's, to be honest, the preferred thing to do is to actually have a roadmap. And having a roadmap means, okay, let's say backend now. I'm like, okay, I want to learn Python. When I learn Python, I want to learn Django. When I learn Django, it gets that feels like a part that I'm just going here, there. 2 of us now, we probably learned coding out of passion or being curious. So we ended up learning random things. We didn't really, as for me, I didn't really see a career in it when I started. I just felt like, oh, it was interesting, it was nice, it was beautiful. So, as I said, it depends on why people got into tech in the first place.
Places where you have worked so far, are they like startups? Do you think people starting, because I think there's one course we did, like, and you are there now, like where they are saying that it's much more better for people like us, like students, to start like in startups than going for big firms. So which one do you prefer? Like, okay, between big firms and startup, which one will you advise people to go for first?
First,
yeah.
I have a bias for startups. Yes, I have a bias for startups because majority of the jobs I've done are like startups. But then startups could take you down this rabbit hole of, I don't know, maybe confusion or something. So let me just give an example. I worked at startups for like a huge chunk of the beginning of my career. And I had this situation where I was the only engineer. Like, I was the only back-end engineer. I had no one to learn from. All my learning were from things I googled. So I had terrible code base. I sometimes made terrible decisions and I didn't have anyone to correct me. That's because I worked majorly for startups that didn't have anyone to like support me. You get? So by the time I started transitioning into like bigger teams, like, I noticed that there's some basic things that people who had like a better part, I struggled with them. Not like I struggled with them, like I was still very, like, I knew about them, but I wasn't doing them. One of it was testing. I knew testing. I've written tests just for normal, but like now testing an actual product that's been done. I wasn't used to that. I worked in startups and startups just want their stuff out quick. Time.
There's not enough tests.
No, they don't have it. Nobody really, like, it's only if you as an engineer are like, oh, let me write tests. There's no time. There's a lot of, in fact, what you are building now, they might not use it. True. So there's really not that. So when I transition into those bigger teams, I was saying things like testing. I'm like, you see someone who links their code in very like Python now. Some people don't know Python has links. Python has links, like crazy links. You see black, you see that, all those things. Yeah, like all those things, I kind of struggled with them. Some will like document their code like crazily. Some will even write documents before writing code. All those kind of things. That's what bigger teams do. So anyway works. If you start with bigger teams, you end up learning those things. You might end up learning those testing, documentation, linting, all those beautiful stuff. You understand how to manage your time, all those stuff. It might help you. But the thing about big teams sometimes is that you might, emphasis on might, because some people end up like, you might not work on crazy ass things. Let me just use that word. They might just give you, we just need this button here, we just need this thing should come. Like it might not work on like deep intensive stuff at the start. Because they might be like, oh, they will give it to senior engineers to do it. But in startup, you write that code. You will write that code. There's nothing you want to do. You will write it.
Look for it.
You will find a way. You write it. Exactly. So that's the thing. Anyone works.
Okay.
But I have a bias to startup. Start with startup. Suffer first. When you suffer well,
and then you can continue.
Can I come back?
Okay. So now the question that I want to ask is so you are still a student, right? And I'm very happy that we are about to finish, guy. So we have less than 3 months left, right? And that 3 months, I'm not 100% sure that it might be crazy for people like me in engineering, right? So now the question is, most people that are starting, especially in Nigeria, are starting as students and working, right? How do you cope with your time? How do you cope with your time working and with school?
I don't cope. I'm being very honest.
Okay.
I don't cope. I just do everything like oh god. I guess the last 1 year has been the best I've done trying to balance it, and that's because I try to like arrange every single thing I want to do on my calendar. On like I always try to put it that okay, oh, I see that I have classes from this time to this time, I have meeting by this time. And I guess one other thing that helps is the fact that currently at least I work in a more stable environment now compared to years ago. So everything's kind of okay, this is the time for this meeting, this is the time we need this out, this is the time. So because of that, I'm already like okay, ready to like okay, I have class from this time to this time, I should be able to have enough time to work on this thing before this time. You get that kind of thing. So it's easier to plan because I work in a stable environment now. But before then, I just do it anyhow, honestly. I know that during school time, school is one side and I just work. But if I see any free period, every free time and there's class, I try to go to the class. So I try to read some things, and I had friends that way. If they don't see me in class for a week, they will call me, they will text me, they will send me the material. I don't need to mention names, you know the kind of friends I have. Like
I understand.
Like they would reach out to me to like, oh, Alpha, have you read? We have test next week. We have test on Monday. I'm sure they have sent me material already, because they understand that okay, I probably struggle with the whole trying to keep up with stuff, and they try to help me. So having good friends, one, planning your time and your day, and being realistic. Honestly, I guess that's the most important thing. If you know that work you have is very important, start that class and do it. Don't tell yourself that okay, if I finish class that 2 hours I should be able to. Your CEO no here should. Honestly, we know here should, especially in startups. So that's the thing.
I saw one of your tweets on Twitter. You wrote a post. No, not really a post. You wrote a kind of like blog talking about inferiority complex, right? So now it's very, very important, because I think most people have also faced it before, and it's really helped me, to be honest. Like it's extremely helped me. Like when I saw it, I was like, wow, this is awesome. Like is what people are actually doing, right? So I want to ask like what happened at that stage. No, okay, don't tell us what happened, but okay, you can just tell us that okay, this is what you actually like kind of face, and this is how you solved it.
What happened? You want to know what happened?
Yeah, I want to know.
It's actually quite personal. So I guess I would go with what happened, because I guess it might give more insight. So it was December. Corona period. Everybody around mad Corona period. You all know that. So at that point, 2020, it felt like I started learning coding. Like I started learning Django 2017. So can we say I have 3 years of experience?
Yeah.
That's another dilemma. Do you start calculating your years of experience from when you started learning or when you got your first job? That's another thing. That's another issue that I have. So at that point, let's say we are using learning period. I started learning back in 2017, and I was in 2020, and I was already in this confusion of like, what have I learned? 3 years. What have I learned? What have I done? I'd really worked in that place I told you that they referred me to, the internship place, then Holler 3. Then I got one very funny in the gig one time. That was like 4. And I had to resign because I wanted to grow. I am a huge fan of growth. If I'm not growing anywhere, except I really want to eat at that point, if I'm not growing anywhere, I kind of, at this point, I always believe that I'm at the point where growth is more important than the money. You get? So I resigned from where I was then because of housing growing. And I was asking myself, like, what am I even doing? So I was in tears. To be honest, I was in tears that night. I had this long call with Golden, and we asked ourselves that, what are we doing? Like, how can we get to the next level? So in the article, I think I mentioned it where you need experience to get a job, and you need job to get the experience. And there is that confusion of how to solve that problem. And at the same time, you have 3 years of experience in quotes, and people expect, I mean, I don't care what people think though, but like, you expect yourself to have reached a certain level with 3 years of experience, and you haven't gotten there. So you feel like a fraud. So like, that was how I was feeling at that point. That was the whole confusion of like, I'm meant to be this good, but I'm not this good. Then around that point, I then researched on like the whole imposter syndrome thing, and I noticed it was something that everyone faces. Everyone, I believe you have faced it before.
Sure, no.
I also like to hear what you were feeling then. But like, everyone faces it, even seniors face it. Yeah. And just to end this, I remember I messaged a friend. I don't think he remembers, but me, I can't forget all these kind of things. Mm-hmm. So it was Shogo, even though Shogo. Yeah, I know Shogo. I messaged him that I don't think I'm growing. Funny things, I'll still have the message because I don't delete my messages. It was 2020. I'm like, I have confusion in my career. I don't think I'm growing. Then he asked one question: how do you define growth? I didn't answer that question because to me it was a deep question. Sometimes we think we are not growing, but we actually grew, but we didn't know. You get? It might be that article we read. It might be that, like, there are things we learn. I believe you understand. There are things we actually learn on the person that we didn't know. So that was something like that. Just made me know that I might have actually grown this year, and I didn't know. I might only figure out maybe next year. But I actually grew. So it was one of those things that just made me feel like, you know what, don't worry, you got this. So just that shot.
So like, you actually said something now, and I want to ask about it. How did you measure your growth? Is it by results? Is it by the product you build?
Personally, me?
Yeah, personally.
I actually do not. I use everything kind of, but...
Or is it about the money?
No, it's not money. It's not money. I'm very sure about that one. It's not money. Because if it's money itself, it's probably I've not grown in it very long. I'm even broker now than before. Like, it's definitely not money. It's everything. It's a lot of things. It could be the kind of code I write. Okay. It could be... Okay, let me use this year now. The last 4 or 5 months, what have I learned? So I know that I try to plan my time better. I try to meet deadlines better. So I try to communicate better. All those kind of things, they're actually very important in a workplace. Communication is very important. In fact, my current work is usually like 70-80% communication and probably 20% work. And that communication is actually intense. Like, it's not just hey hi. Like, you have to write long messages to explain something, because there's no time for calls or emails. People have other things to do. There's no quick huddle or anything. You have to explain what you want to explain in text. So that's also something you need to learn. So communicating better, all this guys. So I define my growth in various things, like the kind of code I write, the way I lay out my messages, the way I plan my time, the confidence I have in speaking out about something. Oh no, this thing is wrong. Let's do it differently. Some people don't have that confidence in their skills. So if I notice that I've grown that confidence in my skill, I'm like, okay, I've grown. Another way that I also measure growth is the perception of my teammate of me.
Okay.
So like, if my teammate gives me bigger tasks, he believe that means he probably has seen that growth in me. So I measure it in various things. I don't just focus on my my salary has increased or my.
Okay, so you actually mean that even like giving you new taxes shows that you are improving?
Yes, giving you new tasks. You know they say the reward of good work is more work. Yeah. So like sometimes it's like that. Yeah, there was this period where like there are periods where like a lot of tasks will just come to you, and you know that Shina, because say I do that thing last week, well, okay now, allow. So yeah,
okay.
That's it. Yeah.
Okay, so the last question I will ask is, what is your advice for people starting tech generally? Like, or let me ask in a better question. If you are to start now, what are you going to do? Like,
all I've done differently if I was starting now, definitely it's getting a mentor. Like call a mentor, like getting a mentor is what I'll have done differently. Like something that is in my control is maybe getting a mentor. I probably would have tried to get a mentor.
Right?
Yeah, because I had by the time I got one, I started writing backend 2017.
Okay.
No, let's just say after this whole coding thing has started like a long time, like 2015. I played around, but like I didn't have a roadmap. I didn't even care. I just enjoyed it. So before I met the first software engineer I knew was like when we were in school already, 2018.
That's been well.
It's years already, like 3 years. So it was then I now started learning that like this backend, this and this front end, like okay, backend and front end communicate through API. I didn't know that. I just knew I was writing Django. I didn't even know how backend will communicate with front end. Yeah, I didn't know because I just went to Django tutorial, and Django tutorial just showed me how to use Django. I was rendering templates. You get? Okay. So I didn't.
Django has template.
So that's how I learned my own backend, and I went for a hackathon, and I saw a front end guy, and I was like, oh, he knows how to use React. Nah, do I know how to build APIs? I said no. I said he should just do the HTML, CSS. I'll render it. Guy, it was hell. It was hell. And one of the reasons why that happened was I didn't really have anyone to like mentor me. I didn't even know what API meant. So my start was quite slow and confusing because I didn't really have a roadmap. Yeah, that's the thing.
Okay, so you're actually telling us that or telling them, right, to have a mentor first.
Yeah, but sorry to cut you short, but that having a mentor is a very scary thing. People take that having a mentor and they just go and look for anybody and they shoot emails to them or they shoot message to them. People are busy, honestly.
Are you comfortable?
Shame on choice.
Oh, the choice.